Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am here. Amy is here. Garrett is here. Don't worry, we didn't lose Garrett. How you doing, Ames?
Good. How are you?
I am very good. I can't stop staring at your hair. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
That looks
Thanks. I just got
awesome.
it done today.
Yeah. Every time I see girls now with like super long hair, not that yours was, but some of them like, oh, I wonder what that chick would look awesome with it, just like shoulder length. And I think that looks
Thanks.
amazing.
I had
Yeah.
extensions before and I took them out because apparently they turned orange in the Bahamas because I
Ah.
think of the chlorine. So I literally looked like that guy who shot up the Aurora Theater in Colorado, the
Oh
Batman
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
I just
Uh,
remember him having orange hair, and that's what I looked like
By the
with my
way,
extensions.
that's the reason that my dad and the warden refused to go to movie theaters opening weekend
Really?
because of that fucking story. Yeah, they're both
Wow.
crazy. I'm like, what?
I'm not gonna
Like,
I do think about it every time I sit down in a movie theater.
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
just,
I
like,
do too.
aware, and I'm always like, it was you're literally just a sitting duck.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do if somebody walks in
No,
and
no.
wants to start spraying.
I went to the movie this weekend, and I'll talk more about it because I got an email about said movie, and that was the first thing I thought when I sat down. I was like, okay, and I was like, if a gunman comes in. My whole thought was because I was there with G. I was
Yeah.
like, I jump in front of G because he's
Yes.
the main breadwinner,
Yeah.
married with a kid. I'm not, so
Yeah.
I'll have to take one for the team, and
Right.
hopefully he can get out while I
Mhm.
take. If someone riddles me with bullets, who gives
I
a
had the
shit? But
same thought. I was with Natalie,
yeah,
and I was like, "Okay, so obviously I jump in front of Natalie, I
yeah,
pushed her down, and that's that." Like, that was the plan because you can't
yeah.
go anywhere.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. No, you hope someone down front takes the bad guy out before
Yeah.
it can he can go he or she or whatever can go through the whole theater and wipe everybody out. So
Going to a
yeah,
movie is so weird now.
it
Like,
sucks, dude.
it's just so different. I mean,
Yeah.
I appreciate the comfier seats, but it's just weird. Like, you select your seat ahead of time, you know?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know,
it's
it's just
weird.
weird.
It's weird. By the way, I'm trying to figure out this studio setup. That's why Garrett's not on camera right now, because of this setup. I'm trying to get as much of this studio in, and whoever is with me, Amy is going to spend plenty of time here. But without cameras and everything else, it's a work in progress. So Garrett can pop in when relevant from the producer seat. There he is. Wave to everyone, Garrett.
Howdy.
But yeah, so I can bring Garrett in, or he can bring himself in when necessary. So, in case people are wondering, yeah, I spent plenty of time this weekend with Ron and Trav. Not Trav a couple days ago, but Ron especially trying to figure out what the best. Like I knew it was going to be a work in progress,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to establish kind of the setup I had in Detroit, where
Mhm.
just being in the room with people, you have there's so much directive you can give with simple eye contact. Like it's
Yeah,
crazy how
totally.
much I could accomplish looking at Garrett or looking at Troy or looking at Isis, and they could pick up on your social cues, which is
Mhm.
really tough to do here as
Yeah.
far as all kinds of things. So bear with us, folks. We're getting there step by step. I want to do some. I want to send Travis over to Amy's house to get some stuff done.
Yep.
Have some plans to hopefully upgrade some shit on Garrett's end. Like it's a whole thing. It's going to take time, and the guys
I
kind of put my mind at ease of like, yeah, there you go. Now we really match. Put my
This is our
mind at ease.
uniform.
Yeah, there you go. I like it. Get your hair back behind the headphones.
Oh, yeah. Okay, wait.
You look silly. Um, no, you don't. But the guys kind of put my mind at ease of like, look, dude, you're going to have to get comfortable going in stages with how this gets played out, like having my sign cut off, like all of
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
kind of in stages. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. And they've convinced me that the sound is good, which is
Mhm.
really all that matters. And Garrett is able to pull up videos right now, which is good. So, anyways, it's a work in progress. I'd like to bring people in here, guests in here,
So, like,
and
where in the house are you right now?
I am downstairs in a garage. There's multiple garages at this property.
Sure.
And
Yeah. Sounds like a
I know.
manor.
Ooh, it is sort of a manor. It has very little to do with me. But it's keep in mind it's Arizona, so it's a
Yes.
little like it's not quite as it's just different layout style.
Yeah.
So but this property in specific was purchased with the idea in mind that I was coming to town. Like I was going to sell my house, G was going to sell his house, and then we were going to get something that would kind of suit their family upstairs and my world downstairs.
Nice.
And so the whole thing was it was very like most people would not want this house, like the setup if you had kids, it's not ideal. I mean, it's fine, it's great, but for this unique situation that we're in, it was kind of perfect. But it's a matter of outfitting it now to totally take advantage of of what's going on. So thank God G's here. He keeps me set up. I freak out. I freak out and I close up when I freak out. It's awful. I get super anxiety and I'm one of those like that really likes to know, like when I was going to the Drew and Mike show, I was like, okay, I can do that. I know what I got to do. I drive there, I go into the studio and I do this, and then I go home and I do whatever I want. And like doing, your own thing, it's like, it's so much of it is different than going there and everything else is handled that I don't want to handle. And so this whole thing has always been really difficult for me. It was much easier when Jay was there handling a lot of the, so the anxiety is really high, but between Travis and Aaron and G Money, they've kind of sort of got me to a stable place where I can come in here and fuck around with you. And that's what I enjoy doing. I really do. I did go to a movie this weekend.
What'd you see?
I went and saw the new Captain America, which I knew was going to suck. I was convinced. I don't watch commercials. And so I really don't pay much attention. I kind of got into the Marvel universe a while ago, and G kind of gave me the roadmap to like watch all the Marvel movies, like and gave me the backstory on was it Munn, whoever the director was that had like a 15 movie plan that involved Thor and the Avengers and Ant-Man, like all of their storylines intertwining. Well, that wrapped up with the last movie. So I always hated let's punch each other through buildings, beat them up. Like it's like a car chase scene in a movie. I'm like, oh God, can we fast forward?
Only take so much of it.
Yeah, I hate it. I always have. I like dialogue stuff. Like really good dialogue is what I'm into. So I don't care about CGI. I don't care about chase scenes. I don't care about fight scenes that last for 20 minutes where no one dies. And if it okay. So I didn't know anything about this. It looked like there was a red Hulk in it, and Captain America was now black, which didn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
So I went and saw that, and I got an email from Cliff, who I think is kind of the resident. He's the guy that always bagged on Jay and I when we would get when we would fuck up everything to do with the comic book world.
Yeah.
Yo, Miguel, a couple weeks ago you were talking about Captain America coming out. It's been 2 weeks. Here's a report. Movie cost $350+ million to make after multiple reshoots. I went and saw it. It sucks. Falcon isn't Captain America. Not Mackey's fault, just a shit movie. It made just under $110 million its first weekend, then dropped 68% last weekend to only make $28 million. Movies have to make 100+ overproduction costs to be profitable. Hopefully Marvel sees this, stops the gender and race swapping. Just wait till you see the female Silver Surfer. I'm so happy this bullshit has lost them so much money. It's ridiculous. It's old and fans want authentic characters, sans, race, and gender. Just make them like the comics. Also can't wait for Cash to do Cash things. Nice studio too. Cliff, I'd still like to be your Marvel guy. Yeah. I'm assuming you haven't seen it.
No, I have not. I just saw I saw Mackey's kind of thing sort of shitting on the whole concept of of Captain America. Yeah, I saw that. But no, I've not seen it. My husband's super into that. I'm sure I'll catch it on the TV once it comes out. But yeah, not really my thing.
The theater experience is kind of weird because so many of now, like you had alluded to about picking your seat. Some of them have theater staff, wait staff
Yeah,
bringing you
wait staff.
food.
Mm-hmm.
The prices are still outrageous for everything,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
So G was like, "Do you want to go to the regular AMC theater and see it, or they've got an IMAX with lasers thing?" And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Let's go to the IMAX. That'll give me something to talk about."
Yeah.
Because everybody's been to the movie theater. And so I'm like, okay, this will be dope. This will probably have the sweet seats and the screen will be twice as big and the sound will be tremendous. I found it too loud. It was fucking annoying. The seats sucked and the screen seemed like your normal everyday Star Theater screen. It was like,
Yeah.
and the picture quality wasn't that good.
I've never noticed a difference.
No,
when I've
the
gone
only
to an
difference
IMAX.
is in the cost.
Yeah.
And G wanted to go, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll go." And then he texted me, he's like, I bought the tickets, blah blah." So I never paid him for them. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the IMAX tickets cost.
Yeah.
Thanks to G Money for doing that, but I don't know, what do they cost? $40 instead of 20?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know, but I've never noticed a difference. And I think that that's because like regular movies are such good quality. It's not like you're going from watching some, black and white shit quality to high def. I mean, it's so similar to just the naked untrained eye, I guess. Like going there to see a movie. Have you seen one in 3D?
Back in the day, I saw what's the one with the blue pew? Avatar?
Yeah, Avatar.
The morning show went to
gives
that.
Me like,
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't love that either.
I went to a pre-release screening of that in 3D at probably the Star in Southfield.
Yeah, Star Southfield, probably.
Star Southfield, which was close to where I lived at the time, right down the street from my house, actually, in Franklin. And went into that place and did that. And it was really cool. Like they clearly spent $1 billion on it. I can totally see how people with vertigo or like light sensory issues would have trouble. But those little fishies or whatever.
That was cool.
It was kind of cool the way they'd float by it. Like it was cool. I also had a big screen TV in my house that was 3D, and I had the glasses and stuff.
Boy, that really came and went, didn't it?
Gone. It was like
like
Blu-ray,
a couple
like
years.
those discs, picture discs. Like that was kind of cool. It was certainly better than the red and blue cardboard glasses they would give me as a little kid for when they would do some special. But you're so right in like the difference between going to a movie versus watching it on your 85 or 65 inch 4K TV at home on the wall where you can pause it, lay out on the couch. Like that to me is so superior. And I used to make that argument with going to sporting events too, where it was like, they've just gotten so good with replays, 50 high def cameras, catching everything. But there is something to being in the stadium for, and I think baseball is a different bird completely. Like baseball games, like going in on Sunday, grabbing a beer and like that's really cool. But if you're trying to, because you can totally follow the action in baseball. Totally. I went to 2 NFL games this year, Lions, Niners, Monday Night Football in Santa Clara. And I went to a Cardinals, Niners game. I think that's what it was as well this year. And unless you've got like these amazing, there's so much you miss.
So much.
And
you don't see any replays.
None.
Like crucial calls that they're like looking at, you have no idea because they don't show it.
Yeah.
It's super
and
annoying.
They're late. It's like, can we get a replay? That was an amazing play.
Right.
And you'll notice too, if you're at a stadium, like when you're watching the Lions Niners in San Francisco or Santa Clara, they're not going to show you a bunch of replays of the awesome Lions plays. Like they'll show you some great hit the Niner made over and over. And I'm sure the Lions Stadium, if I remember correctly, is the same way. You get that kind of bullshit where it's like, no, I'm at the game. Show me all. If my team got their fucking ass kicked because that team dominated them, and like there were so many amazing plays the Lions ran in that Monday night game. That was with the double end around touchdown came into my end zone. No, they're not going to show you that replay in there. It's like, okay, I'd rather be at home watching.
Rather be at home.
Yeah.
How much would you pay, like, say a movie came out, Captain America, you could pay $20, go see it in the theater. How much would you pay to be able to watch it at home for 24 hours instead of going to the movies? Like $20
you can do that.
Versus what? But
you
like
can,
as soon as it comes out?
Yeah, I think like, if you want to do that, like my dad and mom fight about this because my mom's like, my dad's like one of those, I'm not paying $24 for a new release. And she's like, why? If we went to the theater, it would cost us $20 a ticket and we have to buy popcorn and candy and pot. Like,
right. But like, I feel like it takes a couple weeks for it to get on there. Or is it right away now?
It does. Well, it's going to be interesting as this plays out because during COVID, everything shut down. God forbid you got the sniffles.
Right.
So we had to shut the world down. And so when we did that, all the movies stopped being made. And so now it used to be, if you remember, like there were seasons like the Christmas season, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, like all of those seasons where it was like week after week, every weekend, there was a new killer movie coming out. You had multiple choices of what to see. And now it's like, in 2 months, this movie that I sort of want to see is coming out.
Yeah.
And so I think that will change and we'll get back to them producing shit tons of movies probably. When that happens, that's when the question is asked, like, I got 4 options that I'd like to see this weekend. Like, am I willing to pay $20 to watch it right now? I wish there was a way to do it not in 24 hours. I think if that was extended a little longer, because there's definitely times when I start a movie and it's like, it starts the clock of when they're going to delete it from you.
Yeah.
But I get it. It is what it is. Like go to your living room theater and watch the movie, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Going back, why would you pay? You probably don't have a problem paying $20 for a new release.
No, honestly, I would probably pay like, if it was a movie I really wanted to see and it was the weekend it came out, I might pay like $50 to watch it at home. So I don't have to buy any food. I can technically have whoever over I wanted, but like you're, say it's me and Rocky. And so it's I would pay extra to be able to watch it from home, not have to buy the movie or buy the popcorn and spend all that bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, I would too. And I don't.
But I'm all about convenience. I spend my money on convenience. Like that is
totally
what I spend my money on, and I admit that. So
totally. I don't know why they don't do it with concerts. Like your favorite band is on tour, and you can go to the stadium and buy it. They're recording all those shows. Right. Why not stream them and let people pay-per-view in? It's like, wow, my favorite band is doing some once in a lifetime, show at Giant Stadium in New York, and like, cool.
They have been doing that recently with like VR and things like that. They've been releasing a lot of concerts in that.
And I think they should do more of that. Like when I would go see Pearl Jam, they started doing stuff where you could literally buy the concert you were at on disc, and they would give you, they would give you either a hard drive, like a USB stick that night, and then they would mail you a CD, so you could buy any concert you wanted. And it was like, I was at that. So I've got probably 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's
because I bought one at every Pearl Jam show I went to. And so people are, to Garrett's point, they are starting to do that. And I think you should do more of that. I know the VR world is doing that. In some of the video games, I think they're doing that too, where they'll have like, isn't that true, Garrett, that they'll have?
Yeah, like in concert video game stuff. Fortnite's been doing that with different artists.
Yeah.
And those will sell really well, which I think is a brilliant idea. It's like,
for sure, especially because it's so expensive to go to a concert.
Oh my God. It's outrageous.
Like,
I was looking, what was I looking at the other day? It might've been an old email. Like I'm unpacking so much stuff, and I've got stacks of emails from listeners back on the Drew and Mike show, on early days, and some, it's so funny, you read it and it's not from that long ago. You're talking 15 years ago, and it's like, if you think that I'm spending $30 to see Pearl Jam, you are out of your mind, and it's like, and
$30 is the fee now. The fee you have to pay to buy it online.
$30 for the fee would be a fucking steal. Like, dude, my buddy Brandon recently texted me and I think he bought his daughter. a pair of tickets to some bullshit, I don't know, Taylor Swift. And it was like, obviously it wasn't Taylor Swift because that would be outrageous, but it was like $150 for a pair of tickets. And then I want to say it was like $130 in service fees.
Insane.
Like,
it's
makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Zero. Wrapping up on this, that movie. First off, you're seeing the death of what is the DEI, woke, whatever. I know it's a played out topic, but you're seeing the final stages of it. Like, there's not a world that it makes sense to me that Anthony Mackie, for some reason, is Captain America. Like, no offense, I love black actors in movies. They're just fine. But it's like, no. That's an established character. Steve Rogers was. If you're going to go, like, either wrap it up if you're done with it and then reboot it in 10 years. Like, why are you trying to make Falcon, who's the black guy, into Captain America? He doesn't have the serum that made Steve Rogers into like that backstory storyline. It'd be like someone's going to take over Spider-Man, but they weren't bitten by a magical spider, yet somehow, that like they're able to do all the things that Steve, like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
What I don't understand about that is, like, just make a new movie.
Just make a new, yeah.
You don't have to make Captain America, but then change everything about it. Just make a new movie that is your vision. Like, I don't understand it. Especially, like you're saying, especially something like a Captain America where it's comic books and people are super, like, psycho into it. Any deviation that you take from it is going to be like this big deal.
And that's how I feel. And it seems like out of control egos and like the nerve, like I keep going back to the same thing. Like, no, you didn't create this. Right. I understand you're all important now as a writer in Hollywood or an actor in Hollywood who has an outsized reach and voice already. But this isn't your art. This isn't yours to take extreme liberty with.
Right.
It's like the people that, get into all the fights about, Prince's back catalog, or not even his catalog, but now that he's dead, his family's going to release everything and make every penny they can. And it's like, yeah, Prince released what he wanted you to hear. Like, part of me, like, super fan, sure. But Prince was very, 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 very selective about what his stuff, where it went, how it was used. And so just because you have controlling interests, like I know 007 was sold to Amazon. And so we'll see what they're going to do. But the Star Wars world, for instance, didn't include every race and gender and wheelchaired superhero. Like, that's not what that world created. And to your point, if you want to create that world where it's nothing but lesbians and people in wheelchairs saving the world, go write it, produce it, get financing, and then put it out to the public. And who knows, maybe you create something that has a lasting 100-year life because it's so crazy that the world didn't even realize what they were missing without this representation. But like, I just don't understand creating in this space. And I think it's coming to an end. Like, there's a few things that took me out of that movie. Anthony Mackie's just not what you consider the traditional leading man role in Hollywood. I think Michael B. Jordan is, okay? So it's not a black thing. Michael B. Jordan can carry Creed. You look at him and there's an aesthetic, there's a build. It's like Anthony Mackie has this weird, like, little head. What is it?
I think I know what it is. He lost to Eminem in the final rap battle in 8 Mile. And I don't think you can get past it.
Clarence.
Yeah. He went to
Cranbrook. Yeah.
And his parents had a real good marriage. I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah, that could be. And look, Anthony Mackie is a good actor. Yeah. He's fine. But when you look at that, the leading man, like, carry a franchise leading man, you get the Thor actor. You get, like, who Chris Hemsworth. Yeah. You get the guy that was in the Superman movies over the years, like Christopher Reeve.
Henry Cavill. Oh, Christopher Reeve.
Henry Cavill. You go back to Christopher Reeve. Like, there's a certain quality and look and style to a Hollywood A-list leading man or woman. You know, you can look at what's her name, the Black Widow chick,
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson. You go, yeah, that chick can carry whatever she wants. She's that level. These guys are like, I looked at Anthony Mackie, I'm like, his ears are tiny. This is taking me out of this. This is fucking weird. And then they had some woman in there who did a good job. She was fine, and she was a widow, like a black widow, not like her husband died. Mm-hmm. But she was, I'm pretty sure, a midget. I'm not 100% sure on that, but maybe 4 foot something. And when she spoke, it was like that squeaky voice, and it was like, man, you trying to fucking sneak in a dwarf in here and act like they're the baddest bitch in the world? What's going on here?
Maybe they just like snuck into the wrong set. They were there for Snow White.
Snow White, yeah.
Although, didn't they say that they couldn't have any dwarves in that movie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they had to
They literally put all the dwarves out of work.
Out of work, yeah. Yeah. Poor dwarfs. What are they going to do? Like,
it's if you can't play role.
If you can't play fake kids or like Christmas characters. Yeah, this chick, height and why it works for her. Okay, sure. It took me out of it. It was weird to me.
There's entire articles justifying her height. So
how tall is she?
Looks like she is
5'2". My ass. That ain't 5'2". No. I started watching Lost, and it turns out the actress in Lost, the blonde that's pregnant in season 1, that's super pregnant, she's 5'2". Claire. She's 5'2". I was like, no way, that bitch is only 5'2".
Are you watching Lost right now?
I am.
Oh, I love Lost. I just love it. I just get excited when I hear people are watching Lost again. I've watched it like 7 times. You know?
Yeah.
I just love it.
It's
fun
great
to watch again.
Yeah. There's I know there's a few things that are going to take me out of it. Like, because I know that they never explain it. It just like goes off into the ether.
Yeah.
And so
at the time when you first watched it, you're like, this is probably a really big deal. And now you know it wasn't a big deal. So you're kind of like, eh.
And they had no idea where it was going, like the smoke monster and the trees falling down and the numbers, the hatch.
Yep.
Like, I'm into all that. And I just know, like, oh, J.J. Abrams and the guys, when they were making this, had no clue where this was going. None.
Right, right.
But it's really good. It's still really good.
It is good.
I always kind of struggle with Sawyer. As a character. Like, I don't know what it is. Josh Holloway, is that his name?
Yeah. Yeah. He grows on you a little bit throughout.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's irritating for, I don't know what reason. There's no reason. Like, you wouldn't all pull together. Like, it just seems like it's forced. The tension doesn't need to be.
Who's your favorite character?
I do like Jack. I do.
Yeah,
I like Hurley a lot. Hurley's cool.
Yeah.
Dominic, the fucking rock star, he bums me out.
Yeah.
He bums me out quite a bit. I like Kate.
I like Kate too.
Yeah. I liked Sun. Jin bothers me. But Sun is pretty cool. I dig her. I'm on season 1, episode like 16.
Okay.
So I'm pretty good ways into it.
Yeah.
Right now.
I just started watching a new show. Well, it's newer. It's in its 3rd season right now. It's called Yellow Jackets. It's on Max.
I saw part of it.
Kind of like, I get a Lost vibe from it because it involves like a plane of teenagers, like a soccer team.
Girls
soccer
team.
Yeah, crashed, and it goes back between like present day and then them crashing and how they survived and the really fucked up shit that they had to do to survive. But I'm kind of getting a Lost vibe, and I'm like, I feel like maybe Lost is on my list to watch again in the near future.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I started watching Yellow Jackets. I'm totally cool with Yellow Jackets. I was in, like, it's not meant for me.
And right.
You know what I mean? But it's like,
I wasn't expecting you to say you'd watched it because it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of preteen girl.
Yeah,
Like I felt the same way about the Barbie movie. I finally watched the Barbie movie, and I have a total appreciation for like, yeah, I'm not their target. Like I get it, what they're doing. I feel like I'd have to remember back because I didn't watch all of Yellow Jackets. Maybe I'll go back. Some of it was kind of cool when
they do some really messed up shit in that movie.
Yes.
In that show. Like really fucked up.
Yeah. Have you seen all of it?
I'm caught up. Yeah. Like it's on its 3rd season and it's like, there's
so
like
every
3
week.
episodes. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm probably towards the end of season 1. Maybe I've even started season 2. I feel like whenever you tap into the DEI thing, I notice it right away and it takes me out of it.
Yeah,
because
I feel that
like,
too.
yeah. So whether it's like you watch Lost and there's none of that shit. There's none of this stuff where it's like Jin and Sun.
Forced.
Yes, it feels very forced. So Jin and Sun or Michael, it's like, oh, we don't need to go into BLM with Michael and make this a racial conflict on the island. It's like, no. Like Hurley's there. He's just a guy who happens to be Mexican descent. Cool. Sun and Jin are there. They're human beings and they just happen to be Asian. Cool. Whatever. I have no problem with that. Yellow Jackets, I'd have to think, and I couldn't give you specific examples right this second, but I remember feeling at times like, oh, Jesus Christ, here we go with the fucking bullshit again. Cool.
Well, there's kind of like forced like gay relationships, forced lesbian relationships. That's like kind of like, I don't know that we needed that, you know? But I agree. And also going back to Lost, the Lost characters, Michael was my least favorite. I could not stand Michael.
Walt. Yeah.
Walt.
I could do without Walt.
So annoying. Yeah, I could do without Walt too.
I think at the time of that show, Mike Clark and I were super into, I think it was Mike and I that were really into Lost. I think we all were, but I think Mike off air was just like, fuck this guy. He couldn't stand Walt and Michael. I think that's the show. There's a couple shows that fit that, but I think that was the one with him where he's like, no. By the way, I should mention, I talked to Drew this weekend, and he's coming on Wednesday.
Sweet.
And I was like, Amy really wants to talk to you about, and I couldn't even remember the name. I was like, the fucking murder bitch in Boston. And he's like, Karen Reed? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, what else are we talking about? And I'm like, well, whatever you want to talk about. We'll talk about.
Spend the whole time talking about Karen Reed. We are going to talk about Karen Reed until I convince Drew that he would vote not guilty if he were on that jury. Because I was listening to his show, the one that came out today, I think. And so he would have recorded it yesterday. And he talked about Karen Reed. And I'm just screaming at my phone, like, just Drew, because I usually agree with Drew on Drew Crime. And he's so off on this. And I want him to explain it to me.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's cool. You'll have to do some of that. Here's the thing with Drew. And I warn people of this. If you're going to it used to drive me nuts. And I used to tell him this to his face. It pisses you off because he's got, and I asked him this once and he admitted to me that he's got sort of a photographic memory. Now, I don't know if there's levels to that, because he's capable of being wrong, but I remember it's like being in a fight with your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, and guys are like, I know I'm right. There's no fucking way I'm losing this argument. That's how debating Drew is. Yeah. There are times when it's like, I am 1,000% right on this. Drew is fucking wrong, and I'm going to. And then you walk out of there going, he got me again. So I would warn you of that. Is that he's fun? He's awesome. You all know Drew.
Yeah.
But he's very, very. He knows what he's talking about usually, and he's very hard to debate and win. So
well, I'll tell you, so. There is a character in all of this that we'll talk about at some point, but his name is Turtle Boy. That's his, he's a reporter. And I think I sent you one of his videos as kind of.
I haven't watched those yet, but I have them. I'll do that in prep for Wednesday. I'll get.
But he's kind of like, he's not at the. I equate him just in his nature to like a Charlie LaDuff. He's not like he doesn't win like whatever
Pulitzers
awards and stuff, but Pulitzers, but. Just in terms of like, he's just very brash. He doesn't give a fuck. Like he's going to say it like it is. But he's in that local Boston area. And so he's a former teacher. He quit it to become this like reporter. He goes by the name Turtle Boy, but his name is Aiden. So Aiden has like 100,000 YouTube subscribers. He's got over 100,000 X followers too. And he follows me on X. And so I messaged him. I'm like, hey, he's the reason this case is as big as it is. But
it's usually how it goes. There's one stickler pain in the ass of a reporter who doesn't let it go.
Yep, local reporter who doesn't let it go. Yeah, and so I reached out to him, and he's like, anytime if you guys are talking about Karen Reed and want to have me on the show, I'd love to come on. So he's open to, because there's really crazy things happening with Turtle Boy too, in that he has been indicted on witness intimidation charges for witnesses in that case. But the witness.
By the way, that can be as simple as you asked them a question as they walked past you on the street, like witness intimidation.
The witness intimidation law in Massachusetts is very broad, and it essentially says if you could possibly be a witness and someone causes you emotional harm, that's witness intimidation. So, I think I mentioned it to you that there's a character in all of this who Googled at 2:27 in the morning how long to die in the cold. And so Aiden approached her in a public event and said, hey, why did you Google how long to die in the cold while someone was dying in the cold? And he got indicted for that. So it's super interesting. There's so many like levels to all of that Karen Reed situation. But I'm super excited to talk to Drew about it and do.
Well, let's get that guy on. Let's do Drew first, and then we can circle back and do that, because believe me, I'll get up to speed on what's going on over the next couple days.
Yeah, and he has a huge Michigan contingent. Turtle Boy does. There's a ton of Michigan people that are following this case. There are some Michigan YouTube attorneys that have been following it on their channels and stuff. So there's a lot of people in Michigan following the case. It's crazy.
It's crazy when these stories, like I mentioned, Scott Peterson, like Modesto, California was not prepared for why? Their murders of wives happen all the fucking time. Why did this spotlight land on our little city and blow it up to international worthy news? It doesn't make sense. And so that sounds like, in my very limited knowledge of it's Karen Reed, right? Of that story. Like, it's taking over this little Massachusetts town. And
totally taking it over. And they have like hundreds of people out there every day of trial, like tailgating. It's crazy. And they're all supporters of hers. It's very crazy. And you know
wild.
What?
I'm looking forward to
saying this to all of you listening to this. If I am ever accused of a crime, if I'm ever falsely accused of a crime, I expect that same energy from all of y'all. Okay. I want you, Mike, to lead the way. You're our cult leader. You
for sure.
make it happen.
Dude, all it takes is a podcast or a ground level reporter. It usually won't be big national news, because they won't cover it the same. It's like it's like watching ESPN to get the latest and greatest information on the Lions. It's like no. Right. You need those Dave Burkett's. You need the guys, the Mike O'Hara's of the world, whatever they are in today in Detroit sports media. You need those guys that are kind of boots on the ground with everything day to day. It's the same thing. The podcast world is game changing, because you don't really have a clock you follow. You don't have the traditional handcuffs that are on media with time limits. If you and I want to sit here for 12 straight hours and do a fundraiser while we're doing it with proceeds going, you just do it. Like, it's a totally different world that we're seeing playing. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to,
it'll be fun.
I said,
I'm excited. Thanks for setting it up.
Yeah, I was planning to do it for this weekend, and then I was like, you know what? I'll get closer to the day and I'll get up to speed. And but it sounds like there's so much to follow. Maybe I need to start tonight.
So much. It's crazy.
So I'll lean pretty heavy on you, Amy, to kind of.
I got you. I know everything about it.
Oh,
better than I know my own life.
No. It's dude. It jumps off the page with you when you talk to you. I get. It's the same reason you did really like dominating in the TDC trivia when we're trying to throw you guys off, and it's like, how the fuck does she retain this? Like, how would Like it's that kind of mentality that makes it work for stuff like that.
I think what is unique with her situation is I just think all of us have experienced something in life where, but for the grace of God, it didn't go badly. And I think back to a situation with Rocky one time when we were first started dating, and I was working for the Tigers and I was supposed to drive him home from opening day. Couldn't find him at the end of the day. His phone was dead. I waited for hours at our meeting spot, couldn't find him. So I just ended up going home. Hours went by. Hours. I mean, it was after midnight, didn't know where he was, couldn't get a hold of him. I'm calling him, leaving him like, threatening messages like, I fucking hate you. Can't believe we're doing, whatever. But then on the flip side, I'm freaking out. I'm calling my mom going, I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's dead. I don't know if he got into a car accident. Yeah. I was calling jails. I was calling hospitals. Like I was so worried about him. Had he, and all of these facts kind of are along with Karen Reed, but if Rocky would have ended up dead, they would have probably looked at me for this because
100%.
Some of those things like they try to use against Karen Reed that she called her dad in the middle of the night. And it's like, well, yeah, she was wondered where her fucking boyfriend was. And she was calling John going, John, I can't believe that you're not home. I'm leaving. I fucking hate you. Like she's leaving all these hate voicemails. I've done the same thing. So like if Rocky ends up dead, I'm being just railroad. So I just think people can see themselves in her and can see kind of what's happening and how much power cops and prosecutors have. And it's scary. It's scary.
Well, you look at what a prosecutor's job is, and it's basically why do a lot of them have acting background? That kind of like you're telling a story, you're creating a story. Well, that's because if you don't create that narrative, you don't pull people in. It's just like a documentary. And so prosecutors are doing that. And it's like creating a story and then selling that to the jury. Like Amy had planned this out, which is why she was leaving messages to try to cover her tracks. But we saw through it. Like you're painting a picture. And it's like, if you get those guns aimed at you on something and the resources thrown in it, good luck. And if you don't have a podcast pick it up or a documentary pick it up, whether it's the case in Wisconsin, Stephen Avery, like no one's going to hear your story or care. And what we've learned is those prosecutors don't give a shit. It is a wins and losses business. They don't care that, you're as innocent as can be. So I think we can all put ourselves in that situation. It's scary. It's really scary. And it's my guess is it's 10 times worse for a guy. If it's like she goes missing and it's like you were on a date and then she went to the bathroom and never came out and we're supposed to believe you didn't have shit to do it.
Right.
Like, good luck with that. Good luck. Good luck. Because if I was gonna say I slept until like 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. the other day when we got home from vacation, and Rocky didn't come up and check on me until like 1 p.m. And I was like, if I were dead, people would be like, what do you mean you didn't know she was dead up there? You didn't go check on her? Like you'd be arrested just because you didn't come check on me. 100%. Be like, think about it in your life, ladies and gentlemen. This person that you love with all your heart, that you would do anything for, that you've made an oath and vows to protect. She's just sleeping the day away at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. How often does she sleep the day away till 1 o'clock in the afternoon? What time does Amy usually get up? Well, she usually gets up at 7 a.m. So you didn't think it strange that she was in bed till 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Is anyone else believing this? It would be so easy to paint a narrative and a story. And it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Wednesday will be fun.
Yeah. In the news, kind of interesting. The firings are starting. Joy Reid is out.
Bye-bye.
Kind of bummed about this one. I got to be honest.
About Joy?
Yeah.
Don't worry. She'll be back with a YouTube channel.
No, she'll be doing a podcast.
Nonsense. Yeah.
We'll play a couple clips. I sent Garrett a couple clips from Joy. Lester Holt is out at the Nightly News on NBC, the flagship show he's hosted for nearly a decade. He announced he's stepping down in a memo sent to staffers today, 10 years after he stepped in to replace Brian Williams, who was unceremoniously blown out when he acted like he was under gunfire in a helicopter. That never happened.
Crazy.
Programmer Janelle Rodriguez said NBC have yet to announce a replacement. Holt will continue to helm he'll be at the helm of Nightly until early summer. He previously hosted the show's Weekend Edition, began hosting Nightly News on weekdays in June of 2015. Hello to all my Nightly News and Dateline colleagues. I want to share with you a big decision I have made about my future at NBC. You did not make this decision, Lester. Sorry.
Yeah.
No. And you don't leave the flagship after 10 years unless you are asked to leave. So this sounds like one of those situations where they were like, yeah, you can step down. We'll give you some grace, let you do a final show or whatever. But you are
He's
leaving.
He's leaving Dateline too?
No, he's still going to do some stuff there. He was, let's see. So let's see. He says, after 10 years, 17, if you include my years on the weekend, the time has come for me to step away from my role as anchor of Nightly News. It's truly been my honor and honor of a lifetime to work with each of you every day, keeping journalism as our true north and our viewers at the center of everything we do. But before we play the walk-off music, I have another announcement. I'm excited to report I will be continuing as anchor of Dateline NBC, but for the first time in a full-time capacity, whereby I will be expanding my footprint on the broadcast and crafting Dateline hours on subjects I care deeply about. I'm thrilled to be able to work more closely with my talented friends, blah, blah, blah. The broadcast continues to grow and attract new viewers. Dateline is currently the 14th most popular show on NBC. But like most media,
it's not higher than that.
Yeah. Well, you cannot.
People love Dateline.
Yeah, they do. But this landscape media is dying on the vine, period. There's too much content available. And there's only so many hours in the day. These people had a true grip on every bit of the narrative.
Yeah.
If you think about the days before this sort of stuff was available, and obviously much bigger platforms, the Karen Reeds don't have a chance. If Dateline wants to spin it as some Black Widow murderous chick, that's what the nation hears, and that's what they sell. Right. So them being able to control the narrative, there's a tremendous amount of responsibility that comes with that, and you cannot lie to your audience. You cannot take the Nightly News and just be as reckless as they were. You cannot take 60 minutes and be like, it's just not true, Mr. President. Yeah. It's just not true. You cannot fucking do that when it's so easy to call that bullshit out. Hunter Biden's laptop, it's just not true. Yeah. Says who?
Yeah. And honestly, there's so much like better true crime stuff on YouTube. Like, content creators deep diving and doing a way better job than Dateline does in, what ends up being 40 minutes after commercials. Yeah. And they're actually kind of under fire right now for some coverage they had over the weekend about the Richard Allen trial in Delphi, Indiana. Because if you watch the trial, you know that there were a ton of shenanigans, of which Dateline mentioned very few of them. And so people are like tweeting at Dateline, like, what was that coverage? Yeah. Like, what was that?
And that coverage worked for them for 50 years.
Right.
For 50 years, that worked until other people went like, is this thing on? By the way, if you're following that trial like I am, here's a few things they left out.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute. And once that wall comes down a little bit on what they choose to show you, it's impossible to hold that. And you're seeing it with these numbers. Back in July, the show was down 17% total audience from the quarter before, and 27% in the demographic most valued by advertisers, 25-54. They've got a ratings crisis at CBS as well. They say we don't know how, but nightly news will move on. Joy Reid herself is going through the same shit, blown out. And now they're struggling to get a hold of Joy Reid to ask her if she'll do a final show after being axed by the network. I would tell them to fucking pound sand if they asked me to do a final show.
Officer Tatum calls her a milk dud.
She does look like a milk dud. Cultural appropriation with that Trump wig too she wears.
It's like a milk dud that like got a little hot in somebody's pocket and then fell in the carpet.
Yeah, it sort of is. It sort of is. But it's content like this that did her in, and she'll never see that. Go ahead and play that, Garrett.
Why would conservatives think fact-checking is biased against them?
Because it is.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you sharing if you keep getting fact-checked for false information? Think about it. What were conservatives sharing on Meta that was getting flagged so much? Are they spreading
Change your fire alarm.
false information? And why were they so eager? And why are Republicans in general so eager to end the idea of fact-checking? What are they trying to share? What is the motivation for not wanting it to be fact-checked?
Outrageous. Yeah, that's what conservatives and Republicans hate is the truth. They just hate the truth. And thank God the Joy Reids of the world have been there to set the truth. And then all these liars who hate fact-checking. Would you say fact-checking was better on Twitter after Elon Musk purchased it, or better on Facebook? And why is Zuckerberg in such a rush to change the fact-checking? Because that's what they've done now, is going to the standard of the community notes that because they're seeing it. They're seeing the first problem was you couldn't fact check the fact checkers. You couldn't get a hold of them. You couldn't, and you saw really clear narratives. What she's pissed about is that there was going to be someone that questioned some of the bullshit that came out of her mouth. That's what she's really upset about.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, how long would you be able to survive if your fire alarm was beeping like that?
Yeah, not long.
I'm lasting about 3 minutes before I'm unplugging every single fire alarm in my house.
Yeah.
And I'm not recording a video.
Wouldn't you got to unless it was the very first chirp happened when she was 2 minutes, a minute into her minute and a half video, and then it's like, let me. Yeah. But you would immediately be like, I think a normal human being would be like, I got to wrap this up and start over. Let's figure this thing out. This is a nightmare.
I got a hard 3 beep rule. The first one's like, oh, was that a beep? The second one's confirming it. The third one's locating it. Yeah, by then I have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it pisses everyone off. It's like, I don't even know. Like,
it's so irritating.
It's it drives me nuts. That beep drives me nuts. It's worse than the car alarm going off that everyone ignores. It's just a nightmare. But yeah, she has no problem. Doesn't even acknowledge it. You would think she would go, sorry about the annoying beep in the background.
It's a black stereotype that they don't hear the beep.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, yes. I didn't know if you knew that or not, but it's 100%. It's become a meme on the internet that black people can't hear the beep.
Yes, correct.
Is that true or just
100% true?
Racist. I've never heard that.
No, they laugh at it too. Don't worry.
Yeah, it is a thing.
That's funny. That's really funny.
Thank you for saying that, Karen.
President of going back to MSNBC, President Rebecca Cutler revealed the little bit of ominous silence coming from Joy Reid's camp while addressing staffers of the readout this weekend. We're waiting to get a response from Joy and her team about how she would like to handle that, and we want to defer to her on that. The hope is that we will have a final show with Joy. Sunday's meeting quickly grew tense and emotional after the readout was dumped because of shit ratings. During the meeting, some of the angry employees demanded answers about why the show was canceled and what it meant for their futures at MSNBC. It means get the fuck out of here is what it means.
Yeah.
What do you mean you demanded answers as to why? You know what your ratings are. You do. Here's the thing with ratings. I've never given a shit about ratings. Never given a shit. My bonuses were tied to ratings. Still didn't give a shit. It was just like, yeah, whatever. People are listening. Great. It's my biggest kryptonite. I don't. People go, how many people are listening? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't care. There were tens of thousands at one point. I don't know. Is there 5 people now? I have no fucking idea. Great. But everybody wants to make the Drew and Mike show. It was Tuesdays. It was quarterly, and it was like this big anxiety riddled thing, and it would like come as a fax, and it would be like the ratings. We were always number one. It didn't. Yeah. It was like, and you knew there were times that didn't matter as much, like summer. You knew ratings were going to dip come the holidays when everybody's, doing their family shit. Like there's certain times of the year going into the new year. That's why vacation schedules are the way they are at morning radio and stuff and TV networks. But Drew would go nuts. He fucking wants to know exactly.
He still does.
He still does. I know. I'm like, dude, what do you care? You have more money than you could spend. What do you give a shit? Who cares? Just have fun. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But you know what? It's an anxiety thing.
And it's become kind of his fun.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But there's some tongue-in-cheek seriousness there too, because he was always like that back in the day. He does, and most of those guys do. Honestly, I'm certainly in the super minority about like, how many people are listening on this? How many people listen that day? What were we talking about when people were listening the most? Like they get into the weeds of that shit. And when that stuff started changing and going away from just kind of the Nielsen, when they started to be able to use computers and stuff to kind of dial in more as to what people were listening. There's a name for it. I can't remember what the system was that changed in radio and in the quarter hour structure, where it was a lot more precise. Mm-hmm. People got super serious about that stuff. And if you got like an overly aggressive programmer, they'd be like, hey, we noticed at 7:37, you had your highest listeners. What were you talking about? And it was like, I don't fucking know. And then we'd go to like the book and it'd be like, our book of like what content we did, what was going to be saved for best of. Mark and I kept a tally of everything. And you'd be like, at 7:37, I don't know, there was a fucking Harris poll going on.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, you need to do more of that. You need to, and it was like, okay, thanks. It's like, let us worry about what don't, micromanage.
And like forcing it is not going to work either.
No, it's stressful and creators don't like that kind of stuff. And it kind of went by the wayside, but consultants need to justify their gig. Like they're coming in and they've got some pointers and some ideas, and they were usually fucking roll your eyes at stupid, like, yeah, we're doing this. We found one of our stations in Kansas City is doing this War of the Roses bit. They're just killing. It was like, if you think the fucking Drew and Mike show is doing a fake ass War of the Roses bit, holy shit, dude, you don't know us at all. Man. This whole show would walk out of this building before doing some tired, lame, fake, by the way, 100% fake bit. Right. Like, no, we have real content we're working on. We're not doing your fake radio bits. Sorry. So yeah, these people are furious, you don't demand shit. No. You were hired there to do a show. And when that show doesn't deliver the ratings that they need to justify the ad rates they're charging advertisers, you are fucking gone. There's no discussion. The fact that they're talking about a final show isn't, you don't get a final show. You're gone. It's one of the things that drives most listeners and viewers nuts is there's no explanation. Your favorite show's just gone. And it's like, yeah, we've changed format. It's like, wait a minute. People are desperate to know what happened, this and that. The only reason the Drew and Mike show got final shows where we did them for a couple months was they knew they were having talks with Drew and Mark and me about doing another show at a sister station. That's it. Otherwise, they would have fucking cut our mics and thrown our asses out of the building. That's it. Yeah. And to show you the level, I think I've talked about it before. There was someone in the next studio who had to get up at 5 a.m, come into the station, and had the ultimate switch off control of the Drew and Mike studio. So if we went rogue, if we were live and went rogue, there was a delay button. They could hit that delay button and kill the power and then go to music. Mm-hmm. So if we went, fuck these people at Greater Media, blah, 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 it went on a rant, they could fucking kill our broadcast. And it was like, do you really need, and it was Mark Pennington, who was who was PD at the time, he would sit down there. And Mark's great. Mark's awesome. And we never, we knew we were supposed to go, and Drew and Mark did go over to a sister station to do a show. So it's no big deal, but that's the level of it. So you better believe they would have people on standby waiting to kill Joy Reid's show. But they don't owe her a final show. That's not usually how this goes.
Yeah. And like these people are just as clueless to this as they were to the possibility that Trump could get reelected. Like if this was not on your radar, as you mentioned, Mike, because your ratings were terrible, that's on you. That is on you. Because guess what? At our real jobs, we have performance reviews. We know how we're doing. And we know that if we're not doing well for year after year after year, we might get fired.
Yeah.
And guess what? We actually don't even need a reason. They, it goes all back to that. But your ratings were shit. And sorry if you didn't realize that. That is totally on you.
And you can get away with nonsense. You can get away with being Joy Reid. They don't give a shit as long as you can justify the numbers and they can sell ad rates. That's at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So it's like, is Joy Reid an absolute homophobic, racist pile of shit? That's not even debatable. She's as divisive and homophobic. Those anti-gay blogs she was writing that they uncovered that someone hacked me. Like bullshit. We all know what that is. We know what your feelings are. We know what your feelings are about not just conservatives, but white people. And that message came screaming off the TV. And what it ended up being, the people that were actually watching Joy Reid by the end were not fans of Joy Reid. They were people like me going, oh my God, look what this fucking psychopath said today, and playing it like the clip we just played.
Right.
That's what you want out of Rachel Maddow. That's not really what this game is supposed to be.
Right.
Like, no, you're going to Rachel Maddow because she's going to say something so unhinged and so not based in reality that it's clippable and playable the next day. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you could make a living with that model of just like, fuck it, go all in to piss off half the country as much as you can and see if you can be even worse of a human being than Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and Rachel Maddow, and you're the queen of that. You're even worse. You're more insufferable than Jim Acosta or Anderson Cooper. You're the queen of that. And it's like, that works until you're getting 65,000 people a night watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you just go. Now you're just done. You don't.
My favorite Joy Reid clip is when she's like, if you get the vaccine, you're not going to get COVID. It stops with you. I think that's her. Or is that Maddow? I don't know. I think they both did that.
It's
Maddow.
Is
that Maddow?
100%. Yep. Maddow was doing that. Now Joy might have done that as well.
I think
but
Rachel Rachel is that clip. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So Cutler insisted Donald Trump was not a factor in the decision, and the network's changes were made based on data analysis and programming strategy that she believes will best position MSNBC for years ahead. Okay. So the data analysis and programming strategy that she's talking about is getting people to watch your show. Like she's using fancy words there to talk about, people stopped buying that shit that she was selling, and they just turned it off.
Right. Yeah, like you can say it's not about Donald Trump.
It's 100%.
It's not directly about Donald Trump. Didn't call him up and say, hey, fire these people.
Yes.
No, but it has to do with your coverage over the last 8 years of him and what bullshit it is. And people are sick of it and they don't watch anymore. And so your ratings are affected. So yeah, it does have to do with Donald Trump because you've been so deranged for so long. Yeah.
And people saw through it. Like they put up with it for a very long time. They really did. They hung in there through Russiagate and stuff. But at the end of the day, you turn into Geraldo opening the safe on TV, Al Capone's safe, and it turns into something that's mocked 30 years later. It's like the biggest catastrophe in television history. If the payoff doesn't exist, like if there is no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and you're just ginning and dragging these people along into what most people saw through. Most people saw what you were doing, how you were doing it. And the left was desperate for that payoff. People in jail, people never electable, all this stuff that you personally, Joy Reid, Rachel Maddow, CNN, that there's a reason people bailed. And it's because there's verifiable. It wasn't opinion anymore. It was fact-based where you could go, wait a minute, this makes way more sense. I saw another description of the same thing you did. And like, it's going to be a bloodbath if I lose this election. When you try to sell that as the narrative to people, there was a time when people were like, oh my God, he did. Yeah. They thought they could trust your opinion. Yeah. So you're delivering the news and going, this is scary, folks. Donald Trump claims it's going to be a bloodbath if he loses.
Very good people on both sides.
Very good people on both sides. Right. And so when the facts of those stories come out, how many times do you think you can get away with that to an audience? You're using them at that point. You're taking advantage of your audience at that point, and you're selling a product to people who only want to see that. That's all they want to see, is that every word that comes out of this individual's mouth is based in hatred and racism. And when that fizzles out and doesn't really hold any water anymore for them, this is where you get. So the show's staffers reportedly expressed frustration and disbelief that they learned of the show's fate through media reports and not the network's leadership. Common result. Get over yourself. Yeah, is what I would say. What are you? You're a staffer on a fucking MSNBC show that's dying on the ratings vine. And by the way, for those people, if shock and just build your own. That's what you told other people to do. If you don't like it, build your own.
Yeah, build your own.
It's easy.
Or learn to code.
Learn to code. Build your own. You don't get the playground that MSNBC, NBC, as a company held for you and gave to you with a tremendous amount of responsibility. You basically lit it on fire.
Right.
And now you're shocked. Are you really shocked? Are you? Or did you just think you could get away with bullshitting people for literally a decade? It's a miracle you've survived this long.
Yeah, it is.
Now you're going to have attitude about, make that make sense. You can't. Right. And if you don't like it, build your own. That's what you told other people to do.
Yeah.
This is a real problem, Amy, going forward for the left. When people, people have asked me, where do you think this goes? I don't know. In all honesty, I don't know what the left does, because what you did was you made the people on the right absolutely know what their points were and what their positions were, because you had nothing but extreme pushback. And then when that didn't work, you kicked them out of the space. You kicked them out, you banned them, you canceled them. You told them just simply build your own. Build infrastructure that doesn't really exist. They did.
Yeah.
They have built their own, and their iron strengthens iron is kind of what's happened there. So the left, with no pushback, has had control over 90% of this landscape. They just have. And so where do they go when it's like, oh, we need our own Joe Rogan? Where do you go? How are you going to build that structure? You had him.
Right.
You canceled him. You're still trying to cancel him.
Yeah.
So so good luck building your own. I don't know how you're going to do that. I don't know how Joy Reid is going to garner an audience if this is the message Joy wants to continue to put out there. Here you go. Here's another one.
Hey, I just want to give some free advice to the white progressives, particularly white progressive women who may be thinking about
you, Amy,
marching against the Trump victory, maybe putting back on the P-word hats and doing that thing. I would just say probably don't send any of those invites to any black women you know. I'm just going to tell you right now, they're not coming. I'm pretty sure black women have resigned from the Save America Coalition, Save Democracy Coalition, and definitely the Save the Democratic Party Coalition. I think that's probably not happening. I would just keep those invites maybe among your own friends, because I don't think they're coming. But yeah, I think black women are now on the Save Black Women, Prioritize Black Men, and prioritize Black communities, Black businesses, and that, and the Black spaces, but save America, save the Democratic Party. Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, that you're watching a sociopath spin out of control after losing her side losing an election right there.
Yeah, yeah.
And trying to split. Like even if you're a white woman, no offense, Amy, don't even call your Black friend. Like they're done with you.
No,
they're
done.
They're
done. And then when you don't call your Black friend, I'm going to call you racist.
Right. Here's the reality. During the hours of 8 to 11 p.m., MSNBC, and that's Eastern time, barely managed an audience of 734,000, with CNN securing just 522,000. This all occurred during a news cycle that covered Justin Trudeau's resignation, Trump's inauguration, and the controversy surrounding the president's parade of appointments and pardons. So they weren't even generating 1 million viewers with that budget and that staff in prime time with all of that news cycle going on.
It's crazy.
Talking heads ranging from Jake Tapper to Joy Reid failed to stop the bleeding, as did a move from MSNBC that brought back that guy, Rachel Maddow, to TV sets 5 times a week, at least for the first 100 days of the new administration. Joy Reid had the meltdown over Zuckerberg replacing the censors. MSNBC lagged to just 45,000 viewers during the day, 63 during the peak hours of the night. With Maddow, that experiment is failing miserably, by the way. MSNBC essentially lost nearly half of its 25 to 54 audience since this time last year. Wow. So you went through an election cycle and your numbers are half what they were.
That is incredible.
That's incredible. That's incredible. A 65% slide has been seen since the election. The network's numbers are down 41% since 24. The new Nielsen numbers appear to show that relationship continuing in spades. Here's the thing. So some people could say, well, that's just because there's a new media landscape in the world, and that's really what you're seeing is people are just not watching TV. Fox's numbers are going through the roof.
Right.
So the point is, this isn't happening to everybody in landscape media. It's happening to the people that pushed that garbage in landscape media.
Right.
That's where your problem lies.
Right.
So,
and they don't have a need for it anymore because Trump's in office, and once he's done, he's done.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing they can do at this point. So they don't need it. So bring in somebody who's cheaper and better looking, and hope that they can save you.
Yeah, it's not going to be Stephanie Ruhle. It's not Rachel Maddow. You're going to have to clean house at all of them and really start over because, the progressive argument, the left argument, is really an interesting one because it included a lot of people, and myself as one of them, for a long time, that believed you got to help the little guy out more, and you got to, look out for the rights of gays and people that, there's a lot of elements to that party originally that a lot of us believed in. Donald Trump was one of them. Donald Trump could have easily been the president on the left. Be an interesting time, to see, but it's the biggest mistake they've made all along, in my opinion. It's you should have just worked with him. You could have fucking gotten so much radical shit done.
Yeah.
But what they're going to have to do, Amy, and I'll get your opinion on it, is they're going to have to bring in new faces on these stations and absolutely strike a normal chord. They're going to have to get in that pocket. That pocket exists.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You just can't have radicals running your shit.
They have to accept being normal, though. And I think I heard Andrew Schultz say this on a podcast he does with Charlemagne over the weekend. And it's true. The left doesn't know how to be normal anymore. They tailor to everybody that gets their feelings hurt and everything. And they have to accept to just be normal. And I don't know that they can do that. They're going to have to come back to the middle, and they're going to have to spare their most radical watchers if they want to be normal.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that they can't. I mean, they obviously can, because there's a difference between left-wing people that I talk to. There's some that I can just have a reasonable conversation with, and we can be driving around. I can talk to G, and he's center left, I'd say. And he, but I can have a real conversation with him about abortion, for instance. And he kind of would like to see it federally mandated, like any woman that needs help it shouldn't be left to this decision because she's poor. And that's an argument. But I can have an argument with him and going, you know what, dude, it's not a constitutional thing though. It really is a states' right kind of thing. And we can have the dialogue going, and I get it. You can have the argument on both sides, but what you can't do is I say, you know what, I hear you, bro. And I agree with you. I don't want anybody to not be without the help they need, but I really think it's more of a states' rights issue. And that's, if this state in particular feels strongly about it, and they want to make their decision that abortion should be legal up until, the second trimester, like, okay, Ohio can do that. And if Arizona has a different opinion, New York, Florida, like, they'll all have a vote on it.
Yeah. And you have the freedom to move.
Yeah, you do. But if
so
you
what you're
can't
saying
even,
is the discussions are all fun and games until the warden shows up.
right. So but then there are other people, and it's not just the warden. There's a lot of it. Greg Henson talks about it. Something's broke with the liberal woman mind right now. Like
100%.
Something is fucked up with the liberal white woman specifically. I see him on Facebook a lot.
It's the guilt.
People that I know are really good people. They are girls I went to high school with, like deep in losing their mind. Deep.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know where that goes.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to have those difficult conversations with people and go.
One of my sisters was giving us the silent treatment for like 3 days the other day because I made a joke that she didn't like, and she's just very liberal. But one of the sisters had said, like, hey, do you like RFK Jr.? And I responded before my sister could have an opportunity to respond. And I said, no, she doesn't. Trump nominated him.
Yeah.
And then it just turned into, oh, no, Amy. No, Amy, that's not why. And I'm like, it kind of is.
Yeah.
It kind of is why.
Oh, it's 100%
let's just be
why.
honest.
Yeah.
And then so she didn't talk to us for like 3 days because she didn't like that I called her out on that.
Yeah.
She tried to say, well, it's because he's anti-vax, even though her best friend is
Right.
anti-vax. But she didn't like that very much. They're very unhinged. And I mean, I love my sister to death. Like, I would do anything for her. She's so normal.
What does she say?
So very similar, but like when it comes to that, unhinged.
Yeah, it's weird that you guys grew up in the same house. I'm assuming you guys. I know there's a lot of you.
We actually didn't. My two oldest sisters grew up separately from me. They're just so much older, and they have a different mom, so they grew up with their mom. But
do you think it's a female thing? Do you think there's a female hinges? Because obviously you're not like that, so it's not true of all of them.
I just think what's funny is, so she lives in the Ferndale, Royal Oak area,
Okay.
and I just think you're a product of like who you are around,
A little bit,
know.
yeah.
And I mean, every single house has one of those signs. It's like everybody here is equal, and we love everyone. Every house in Ferndale has one of those.
Yep.
And so I just think it's that. But I mean, what's funny is, I mean, she would vote for, I think she would have voted for like a Mitt Romney. She's very just liberal on social issues. She's conservative on, the financial side of things. But Trump broke people. Trump truthfully broke people.
Yeah.
And total inability to reason on anything when Trump is involved. It's very weird.
It is. It's been going on for quite a while now. That's going to be the hardest part, because there is a contingency. I see it, whenever someone goes on MSNBC and doesn't just absolutely drive a stake into Donald Trump, if they go, well, he's kind of got a point here. Like, that guy is just vilified for that take. Like, how do you get away from that where you're able to have, once again, reasonable debate and conversations? Like, I used to spend a lot of time in Ferndale. I lived in Royal Oak. I remember being around there. Like, it's cool to have that element in. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's kind of a party area and crazy light. Like, it's great. Like, I don't have to participate in the lifestyle. It doesn't mean I want them hurt or they want me hurt. Like, it's okay. We can still sit down at a coffee shop and we're all, like, that's cool. It's fun. It's, you know,
I
and
think there's also
believe it or
something
not,
to be-
talking to those people and having conversations with those people when you do interact is awesome. Getting to know, so that it's a great thing. And that's been removed. Like, even having that discussion has been removed. And I don't know how they get back to that without brooming so much talent on the CNNs, like all of them, like all of them. You know, I don't know. I don't see him being able to pull that off. I don't. I think it's funny that the January, like these people flipping out. I watched 60 Minutes last night. The you know, which I don't, but my brother was like, "Oh yeah, they got." I go, what hit pieces are they doing on Trump today? And he goes, "Oh, I don't think it's hit piece." Like, he doesn't want to see it. He's like, "Oh, they're talking to federal prosecutors, blah blah blah." And I started watching it, and it's like, I recognize that girl and that guy. And I Googled, and it's like, oh, these are the federal prosecutors that are making the rounds, doing the shit piece on Trump and everything. Like that. So 60 Minutes used to be a respected news source. So it's like, okay, you've gotten Sarah Levine and Sean Brennan, two prosecutors who are making the rounds doing, and it's like, oh, there he is on Rachel Maddow's show, doing the same story about how this is some constitutional crisis. They love using all the buzzwords, you know, pretending the Constitution matters to them, the Declaration, like all that shit. It's just hilarious. It's hilarious. So Trump pardoned 1,500 people who participated in the January 6th Capitol riot, including those who violently attacked police. Then a short time later, many in the Justice Department who prosecuted those cases were fired. Two of those fired prosecutors, Sarah Levine and Sean Brennan, spoke out in interviews aired on 60 Minutes. So their quotes were, "The Justice Department is under attack. They're coming after the people that want to uphold the laws that exist, and they should be terrifying to everyone. This should be terrifying to everyone." Scott Pelley then asked why they were fired. Because I did my job. I mean, it's really that simple. I went in, I followed the facts, I followed the law, and I got fired because I did exactly what I was supposed to do. This is what 60 Minutes is airing now. And it's like, yeah, that's not why you were fired. It's not at all why you were fired.
Yeah, and what's a shame is they don't give any opposition to it. Like, okay, here's what these two goofballs are saying. That's fine. We can hear their story. But in fairness, why don't we go over here and find out what really happened and why they were actually fired, and let the listener decide who is more credible.
There's, you know, something's up. It's creative editing, documentary style. You see a lot. They show you the same 4 clips from January 6th. Those are the only clips you see. Meanwhile, there's hours of footage that went on at January 6th. So if you want to believe this was an insurrection and like, oh my God, the Constitution, when you've got what they've done, they've got the one image of the guy breaking the window, the one cop going, oh, like, it's horrible.
Climbing the wall.
Yeah, for the distant shot, climbing the wall. That those incidents happened, and you could isolate, you know, a handful of people that got out of control. Whatever, that would be fine. And all of us at the time said, "Hey, man, you can't. I don't care how disgruntled you are, how angry you are. You cannot rise to that level." We said the same thing with BLM riots or Michael Brown riot. It was the same kind of attitude.
Yeah, like, you don't get to destroy property or trespass.
Yes, but at the same time, we're able to look at it because we're not deranged. We don't have Trump derangement syndrome. We can look at it and go, yeah, you know, probably not the best use of resources to put 5,000 There's literally more people working those cases, those federal prosecutors, all hands on deck to get these guys, to get
Right.
find ways to prosecute them into felonies that send them to prison forever.
Mhm.
Wielding the long arm of the law in
Mhm.
as radical a way as you can. So, there should have been charges on some people probably. And, it got to the point where Trump just said, fuck this. This is, and released them all. And, is that the right decision? I don't know. They
Well,
continue.
yes. The answer to that is yes, it was the right decision if their only job was to investigate January 6th. Like, if that's your only job, you're disposable because that's done.
Yeah.
Like, if you were working on 50% January 6th stuff and 50% other stuff, and you still had like something to do, you might, but those are people that there were too many. If we can have that 5,000 dedicated to January
Officers.
6th.
Yeah. It's what it seemed like. And it seems like I bet if you looked into these two lawyers, they would kind of you would see a pattern in the kind of stuff they go after. And this idea of going after people that are like, we won. We won in court. It's like, yeah, in DC circuit courts,
Yeah.
where 95% of the people there vote the same way.
Right.
There's that does not represent the country. I'm sorry. It's not what the country sees. It's in no way reflective of how the country votes or how the country feels. It's not. It's one party rule completely. And there's a reason they always want to stuff these into the DC circuit, whether it's or there's a handful of spots, one in New York, one in DC. There's another one in the Southwest that they always want these court cases handled in.
Yeah.
And because they're going for an outcome.
Yeah.
So
Judge
it's they're judge shopping. And they're putting these judges in certain places. And if you look into it a little bit, if you trust the system, if you just trust the system, and that's what's really falling apart. If you just trust the system, you assume that, hey, their job is to root out wrongdoing and hold people accountable for wrongdoing. That's not what's going on in too many of these cases, which is why you're seeing the pushback that you are, which is why you're seeing these cases played out, and why Trump just said, fuck this.
Mm-hmm.
No, these guys were prosecuted. We think it's kind of a bullshit prosecution, and they've been rotting in jail cells for years now. Enough.
Yeah.
They
were still arresting people for January 6th, like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And anyone who has watched the videos of what happened on January 6th knows that the grave national injustice was not the decision to prosecute the rioters. The grave national injustice has been the Department of Justice turning its back on those law enforcement officers, those members of Congress, and all those victims who were affected. Okay, do BLM next.
Yeah.
I know it's a tired argument, but seriously.
Yeah.
How do you say that with a straight face?
What victims?
Right.
What victims? There was one victim on January 6th, and her name is Ashley Babbitt, and she was a Trump supporter. So, what victims? No cops died that day. The vote happened like an hour later. It kind of diverted things for like an hour. Like, who are the victims? I'm just so confused. There aren't any.
Yeah. It's insane to me, but they're not going to go away without a fight. That's what you're seeing. These people that think they're entitled to these positions. We just got to pray that cash comes in. And Dan Bongino. Yeah, that was announced today.
I know Adam Schiff is shaken
in his
boots.
Good. I was kind of the opinion for the longest time, like, yeah, don't look back, look forward, fuck these people. But if there's a few selective prosecutions that go on based on behaviors, I wouldn't mind sending a bit of a message like, no, this is not acceptable.
If you broke the law, if you purposely misled the American people to rig an election, you've got to answer. That's not like something super minor. That's actually like a really big deal. And you should be called out. And at a bare minimum, if you're not going to prosecute him, fine, but let us know what happened.
Yeah.
Release the
I'm
documents and let us know so
I'm
that we
banking
can
on
not elect that motherfucker again.
I am counting on Kash Patel to do just that. And
Yeah.
you know, he's been clear. By the way, for those that you know, like, oh, now he's seeking retribution against a political enemy. That's going to be the talking point. Go watch the videos. I know you don't pay attention to what anyone on the right says, but Kash Patel has done interview after interview after interview, months and months and years ago, saying that dude, Adam Schiff, is the most corrupt politician in Washington, D.C. He is. He's the guy. He's the most corrupt, the most bankrupt, more like, you want to go send a message and take that cat down a notch? I got no problem with that.
Yeah, he's
I do not believe that guy's clean.
The Russian hoax in large part was due to him. He was a big pusher of that. And I have no problem with, like, you don't just get to do stuff like that and then just be like, okay, well.
Yeah. Well,
you know,
their cover is getting blown out, whether it's funding or the Joy Reids and the Lester Holts of the world are not going to be there for them to make their nightly appearances and talk bullshit.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a sea change in the coverage they get.
You know, Mike, I was watching before I came on with you, Candace Owens' show today. And she is releasing her new investigative piece that she's been working on for years, is looking into Harvey Weinstein.
Oof.
But it's not like what you think, apparently. I mean, and she kind of starts this off the same way with Justin Baldoni. She's like, I have zero in common with Harvey Weinstein. Zero. She's like, I hate Hollywood, hate his politics. I hate everything that he is, that he stands for. But she's like, what if I told you that what happened to him was all bullshit and he pissed off the wrong person and they railroaded him a lot like they railroaded Michael Jackson? And Harvey Weinstein's conviction got overturned in New York. He's being retried for his case. And she's like, it's going to be really interesting to watch that because she's like, it was rightfully overturned. She's been talking to Harvey Weinstein on jail calls. She's like, I have been talking to him one-on-one on jail. And she's like, you guys have no idea the shit that I've uncovered and just how deep this Hollywood shit goes and how deviant they are. So I'm super excited. Yeah.
Well, the New York change of that case is really interesting. And it's something that if you've been alive long enough, this is something that the left would have fought for tooth and nail. Like it would have been a core belief of the left. Like if you're trying to railroad someone in a court, like what they did essentially was, like if you're being tried for a case, a judge won't admit evidence from past cases, other people that aren't related to this claim. Like you're being judged on these charges that were filed. And what they did was, oh, we'll just admit everything. Fuck this guy. And it's like, let this chick come in and go, oh my God, I was fingered at a party once by Harvey Weinstein. And it's like, okay, well, you should have brought charges the way, let a prosecutor investigate it and then bring charges if they want. And then the court will hear that case. You don't just get to bring character witness after character witness up to destroy someone. And that would be a principled stance on the left my whole life. Yeah. Like this guy was railroaded. They would have gone to bat for that guy. So it'll be interesting to see. The left typically would have been the people championing someone like that. Like, this is out of bounds. He's being tried on these charges. If you can make those work, good. If not, no. Yeah. But you start getting emotion in there. You start getting, women worked up about being abused by the system. Like, all of that comes into play. Well, that's not how the justice system works.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, it's so unfortunate. I mean, okay, if he's guilty, then he should be in jail. But it's unfortunate the time that he was tried, because had it been a different time and we weren't all worked up in this Me Too tizzy, a lot of that probably wouldn't have happened. And like I went to college with this guy, Daniel Holtzclaw.
I know
And
that name.
yeah, you do, because he was a cop who was convicted and sentenced to like 300 years in jail they were saying that he was like assaulting, black women who, nobody
Oh yeah,
prostitutes basically in
yeah,
Kansas City, I think, Missouri.
yeah,
Um, and it was like this big thing. And by all accounts, sounds like maybe he was kind of railroaded a little bit, but his trial was right in the middle of Me Too and when everybody hated cops. And I
yeah.
mean, one of the witnesses against him was like super high on drugs as she was testifying, like just completely. It was a very, very weird trial. And I'm not saying he did it, he didn't do it. I don't know. But what I do
Yeah.
know is that you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And putting people on the stand that are high while they're testifying or have changed their story 100 times, they're not credible. But if you're in a world where it's Me Too and everybody hates cops, that's gonna
Yeah.
that changes the color glasses you're wearing. And
Yeah.
You're not holding them to the standard. You're not holding the prosecutors to the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt because you're already just so jaded against that whole,
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that'll be interesting. The good thing about Candace Owens is she has credibility with me. I have
totally.
yet to see the take that Candace has done, whether it's political or societal, where I go, she's not playing it down the middle. She's trying to direct me into a direction with something. And
Yeah.
she's calling balls and strikes.
Yeah.
She even makes some calls that would be deemed unpopular to what
Yeah.
her core base would be.
Yeah.
And she's willing to stand on that.
Yeah.
So until I see something, it takes, it's just not you, Mr. President. It takes
Yeah.
that kind of shit to destroy your credibility. It
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot of those moments, but it
Yeah.
takes just a couple, and you go, okay, it's happened a few times. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see, if the George Floyd cop conviction is ever
Yeah.
seriously looked at, because Candace
Right.
did some of the best reporting I've ever seen on a case on that, and
Yeah.
it's buried behind a paywall, all
Yeah.
10 hours of it.
Right.
And people that go, la, la, I don't want to hear it. I
Yep.
don't want to know. Like, he's a
Yep.
cop. Like, that's the definition of
Yep.
the hatred for cops,
Yep.
and the false narrative that cops run around murdering minorities.
Yeah.
Like, in that, like, to me, if an impartial judge, jury, and area took a look at the George Floyd case, that's pretty obvious
Mhm.
what went on there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with Harvey Weinstein, I'm at least willing to listen. I assume,
Well, and I mean, I think it says a lot about. You just start off with a lot of credibility when the person who's digging into this and who's doing this expose is someone completely against everything you stand for, because it takes a lot to put your credibility on the line. And I mean, who the fuck wants to defend Harvey Weinstein? I mean, he's public enemy number one for almost everybody. So you're not like gaining supporters by being like, yeah, hey, guess what? I think Harvey Weinstein was railroaded. It's not like he's even Michael Jackson. Like with good music out there, like you're not going to defend him. So for someone like her to be like, there's something here that we need to look into, I'm willing to listen to it.
I'm willing to listen to the Harvey Weinstein one is interesting only because I just assumed that sort of behavior of kind of pay to play, payola, if you will, behavior was going on. Like, you're talking about not all, but it's a giant incestuous industry in Hollywood with massive egos, massive,
power,
like
money.
the power, money, all of that. There's really no, it's unlike a Community anywhere else seen in America. It's not. And so the idea of, I could put you in that movie. If you sucked my dick, like that's you're not talking about people. Like, there are thousands of absolute gorgeous humans, guys and girls, beautiful people desperate to get that on that stage, in front of that spotlight, on that camera, in that movie, that would absolutely go against everything they believe in and fuck Harvey Weinstein, blow Harvey Weinstein, guys and girls. That's the thing. So it comes down to like, okay, well, my guess is that's going on across the board. Certainly in the old days, the casting couch concept wasn't invented by Harvey Weinstein.
Right.
It just wasn't. So it's just like a wink and a nod, like, yeah, we all know casting couch girl.
Yeah.
That's just a reality.
And honestly, like, unless he's holding you against your will, I gotta tell you, you made the choice to do it.
Yeah.
Like you were given a choice. You can suck my dick and be in this movie, or not suck my dick and don't be in this movie. Yeah. And you had a choice. He didn't like hold you down and say you must suck my dick, and then it's gonna be like, you had a choice, and you wanted to be in that movie, so you decided to suck his dick, and then now you want to pretend like you didn't make that choice. And was it right for him to do that? No, but like you also decided to do it, and presumably made money and fame off of the movie that you were in because you decided to suck his dick. So like, I don't know, just.
And is it different? Is it really any different than the world's oldest profession? Like selling something you have for something you want. Like that's the basis of prostitution. Now, is that we could have a full debate about whether that's morally bankrupt or right or wrong. Should it be legal? Is sex work real work like some want you to believe? Like you can have that argument, but I think everybody understands that, young starlets in Hollywood, that's a thing. It's not going to happen at your office, right? You would hope that just getting this secretary's job doesn't include blowing the boss. But, but in Hollywood, the stakes are a lot more. And so you can have that debate, but I'm not ignorant to the fact that that's probably going on. So with Harvey, it's like, I assume that was going on. I think it is kind of bullshit if those ones that are like, yeah, he said he'd give me the part if I sucked his dick, and then I didn't get the part, and I did, and I didn't get the part. Like,
gotta at least get it in writing.
Yeah, sounds like you need a better agent, but so I don't know, but I'm willing to listen to Candace if she's going down that rabbit hole.
If you had 3 chicks sitting in front of you, and they're all gorgeous, they're all beautiful, they all can read the same lines, aren't you going to give it to the one that sucked your dick?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
like,
but I'm a morally bankrupt kind of individual. I am.
Well, everybody in Hollywood is.
Right.
It's like, a requirement.
I don't care. Honestly, if you think you can get ahead and that's your way of getting ahead, like, do you, dog? I don't give a shit.
Right.
You want to do that? Like, but you're right. When you're staring at a room and you've got 500 people deep and they all are hotter than the one before you, it's like, okay, how do you stand up in that space? How do you, I don't know, blow the director's probably a good starting point. I don't know. So we can have the debate about whether that should be, frowned upon behavior. I don't know. Yeah. I just never believed it wasn't going on.
Yeah. And like you wanted to be in a movie so bad that you sucked his dick. That's not on anybody but you. And like the reason that's not really happening in the corporate world is because there's no job that anybody wants that bad that they're like, yeah, I'm going to suck your dick for it because I can go make 75 grand on the street. Like I'm not going to do that in the everyday world. But if it's an A-list movie that is just going to be the next big thing, people are willing to do something for it, and like you can't then come away and be like, oh, I'm the victim. Like
I had no say in this. No, I've said it many times before. Like I probably would have sucked a dick to be in Pulp Fiction. Like if I could have had a decent role, maybe like even the Bruce Willis role in Pulp Fiction, like it might have been worth it.
Yeah, and I guarantee he probably lasted like 2 seconds. It was not like it didn't take much.
But I could have been talked into that at a younger age, and like it is fucking Tarantino, man. I know. I don't want to blow him either, but shit.
I do it
Next
for the Jimmy
person's
role.
Gonna do it if I don't.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Believe me, there's going to be 10 out of the 500 people in line.
Yeah.
10 out of 500.
Yeah.
So, and if you know that's thing, it's kind of like the doping scandal with Lance Armstrong, where he's like, well, shit, I know everybody else is doing it. They're all doping. So I either get in the game or get the fuck out of the game. And it's like, yeah, I didn't set the rules, man. The rules are what they are.
You don't like it? Go get a desk job. Whatever.
Yeah. All right, let's do a couple emails and get out of here. Thank you for being here, both of you. Albert Fadul, new member. He was talking, I can't remember if I was talking about this in the members or whatever, but about that $300 hospital bill versus the $10,000. When you get admitted, you identify if you have insurance or not. Some hospitals have a flat charge, say $300, but you have to pay it then. They do credit checks to see if you have remaining balances. The law says they must treat you. So it is better to get $300 to $500 or $1,000 as opposed to getting nothing at all and then having the expenses of trying to collect, et cetera, et cetera. In 2010, Metro Detroit hospitals lost over $1 billion in charges, costs that would have been paid by insurance. At that time, many hospitals in Detroit were nonprofit, DMC, Oakwood, et cetera. Trying to explain, where it was like, oh, that'll be 13 grand. And I was like, I'm self-paying. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, $300.
Well, I identify as an illegal.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, have them cover all of it.
That's funny. If you ask for an itemized receipt at the hospital, it goes way down.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, I bet.
Kurt writes in, Mike, I've been a longtime listener of Drew and Mike since I was probably 12 in the 90s. I've been a listener of Drew's podcast and your podcast, and even what I thought was the best short-lived podcast when it was you, Mark, Drew, and Maz. No, it was just me, Mark, and Drew. It wasn't Maz wasn't there.
Yeah.
I think 2015-ish. No, 2013-ish. Post 101. My entire family and extended family have all been loyal listeners, and we all agree that you and Drew need to do more crossover podcasts together. This is just our entire family's opinion, but it is a phenomenal change up from both of your podcasts when you both join forces. Need it done more often because you and Drew and Mark are really good together. Thank you for providing endless entertainment for past several decades. As both podcasts are the only ones we listen to like a drug addiction. LOL. Thanks, Kurt. That means a lot. And yes, as I said, Drew will be on Wednesday. So Amy requested it. Sorry, Kurt, it wasn't you. Amy wanted to have Drew on over this trial in Massachusetts. So
I agree, though. I concur with that email, and I think I think I texted you when you guys were on with Landau and Normal World, and it was you, Drew, and Landau, and I'm like, this is like the dream scenario right here. Like you three together is so awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
I agree.
I get in the weeds a little bit about it. I think of Drew as a natural one. I think I'm more of a 1 than a 2. I think you're a great 2, Amy. That's the hardest seat to sit in. And Landau is a natural 2. So Drew and I struggle. Like we both had notes when we did the show in Dallas without Landau.
Yeah.
It's like I had a bunch of stuff and I've got my own like angle and take on things. And then Drew's got a stack of shit. And so we're kind of fighting against the current in how it's going to be delivered. And it's like, do I give way, let him? And so you end up kind of going back and forth on stories like, okay, he'll take the lead on this one. And it's just a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of fun. He's easy. But when he would come over to my house in Detroit, it was like, as a host, it's like, I've prepared, like Amy doesn't know what I'm going to bring up.
Right.
Like I have a bunch of shit. Amy doesn't like halfway through one of the stories, pick up a story and go on a further note and then take us in another. Like Drew does that. So Drew will come over and he'll have like 4 shows worth of material. You know what I mean? Like, so it's impossible for him to give up the reins, and you'll notice it on Wednesday. So it turns into a different vibe. It's fine. It's Drew Lane. I don't give a shit. He's so fun. I don't care. He can literally take us in and out. I don't give a shit. I'm just glad he's
nice
there.
To like, it's nice to hear Drew around like a different personality than Mark and Trudy. Like Drew is a little different around you, and it's just nice to hear that. It's just kind of a different vibe.
Well, I think I have a lot of similar beliefs of Mike Clark. Believe it or not, Mike Clark would
Yeah.
be an insufferable Trump fan.
Yeah.
Fact. Like,
Yeah.
if you knew Mike Clark off the air, Mike Clark would be hard in the paint, MAGA hat. Like,
Yeah.
I can't tell you the level of disdain he had and pure hatred in his soul for Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. Like, it was a different time. And so
What year
it
did
wasn't
Mike
as
die?
like, what's that?
What year did he die?
It was like 4 years ago.
Okay.
5
So you
years
voted for
maybe?
Trump the first time.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was around then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he would have been super polarizing these days because Mike wouldn't be able to hold back. Like,
Yeah.
bitch, that's
Yeah.
Hillary. That's
Yeah.
where that comes from, is Hillary
Yeah.
Clinton. So like, it wasn't viewed that way in those days. Like, it was
Right.
just like, you didn't have a landscape media that was this poisoned
Mhm.
into driving a narrative. And so Mike Clark could read the news and then comment on it, and nobody said anything about it. They were just like, yeah, it's his take on whatever. And it was cool. You didn't hate your neighbor. You didn't
Yeah.
hate your best friend. You didn't
Yeah.
lose your buddies over it. Like, so we're in a weird time right now, but I think that's what people hear is I'm a lot like Mike Clark and what I find
Mhm.
funny and
Mhm.
kind of my take on things.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so for Drew, when he and I start going back and forth, it's almost like it's a free pass for him. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm sitting here with Mike Clark
Yeah.
again, who could just kind
Yeah.
of bullshit about this stuff. And
Yeah.
I think that's what people hear, because I hear that all the time. Like, you and Drew, it's really good. And
Yeah.
Mark has always been kind of an insufferable U of M,
Yeah.
and he was
Lived
like that
hard.
back.
One
Yeah,
of the
he
cult.
was like that back in the day. It didn't matter. And
Yeah.
I adore Mike or
Yeah.
Mark Fellhauer.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
great,
I-
but
A perfect example that I always say, like, if something just insane is happening, like, I don't know, Mark, why are we spending $1 million on transgender Sesame
Mhm.
Street in Colombia? Why are we doing that? Mark's response will be like, I don't know, ask them.
yeah,
Call
Yeah.
him up and ask them.
yeah,
Ask 'em
very
why they're doing-
pompous.
It's like, no, Mark, can
Yeah.
you just fucking riff about how ridiculous it is that
Yeah.
we're funding that instead of just being like, ask them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that is so Fellhauer. So
Yeah.
Fellhauer.
It drives me crazy because it's just like, we're not actually looking for you to provide the answer, Mark.
Yeah, you're giving
Like,
commentary, dickhead.
Yeah, just bullshit about it.
Yeah.
You know?
It is what it is, but that's, there's a vibe that Jay and I had,
Yeah.
where I knew I could get into disgusting shit involving sexual abuse and,
Yeah.
and Jay would be disgusted. And that was half the fun in that.
Right.
And so depends what you're dealing with. And so Drew, I think, mixing it up, like, he's going to get me going, out. You're spending $1 million on a fucking tranny art show. What the fuck? Like, Mark's never naturally going to do that.
Right.
And I don't know about Trudy. She's, I don't know what her take would be, but
yeah. But
whatever.
when they have what's his face on oh my
Maz.
god, Bentley.
Yeah.
Bentley kind of brings like some normalcy
Bentley
to it a little
is
bit.
really funny. He's a sick fuck, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bentley is a sick fuck.
Yeah.
And I adore him for that. Like,
Yeah.
Bentley doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
But Jim's an interesting character himself. But there's a dynamic there that all of us lived with for many, many years, that you had a pecking order. And so getting out of that pecking order and really truly having your own voice in that is hard. That's hard. Like, I feel it when Drew's in the room. Like, you almost revert back to like, I'm the guy that plays the drop cards and throws in a comment, and you know what I mean? Like, it's like, so there's probably that element for Bentley. There's probably that element for Mark, Trudy, like, so it's not like two people coming together that are equals and
Totally
attack it together.
Yeah.
So there's probably some of that. But anyways, why don't we wrap it there? But we'll look forward to Drew on Wednesday. That should be a lot of fun.
And I'm coming
excited
with
for that
notes too.
Yeah,
Okay?
fuck it. He
So-
will. He
I
definitely
am
will.
too.
Yeah.
I'm coming with all my
Yeah.
red flags.
Yeah. No, he's a lot of fun. He's
Yeah,
tough
I'm
to
excited.
debate, so it'll be good, and I can't wait to get up to speed on it. So, I'll be able to sort of moderate and help out.
Yes, and Karen Reed is being retried starting April 1st, people. So I just need everybody to get on board. I need more people to talk about this with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's make it
Well,
happen.
once I get into it, I'll definitely get into it, and
Oh,
we'll be
yeah.
doing more on it. And you'll be back tomorrow, Amy. So
Yeah.
we will see you then. Garrett, I will see you as well. Thank you guys. Have a great night. I'm going to start watching that shit today, actually. And start getting up to speed.
She's got a bit.
seriously.
There's a big court date tomorrow, so I'm happy we're talking
Okay.
Wednesday because I'll have information from the court date tomorrow.
Perfect.
That is happening. Yeah.
Perfect. I love it.
So.
All right.